I've thought a lot this week about how, like, family can be chosen. Like, you have your family, your family, your people you grow up with and everything. But along the way, you find people who you really connect with. You choose them, and they choose you, and everything. Because the family that you're born into, I'm not saying there isn't massive value in making everything work with your family that you possibly can. I'm just saying that, like, sometimes, look, they're your first crack at, like, relationships. Do you know what I mean? Like with most people, especially with the big family, if you line them up together, you'd be like, all right, if y'all didn't already know each other, I'm not sure you'd be hanging out. Like, I got cousins that I love dearly, but, like, I don't know. They're like athletic. And then I show up with a Rubik's Cube, but they're like, very cool, very cool. Now, you can tell somebody's not into what you're into when they talk to you all slow like that. When they're like, that's awesome, but that is fantastic. I like that you are into that. Wow. Oh, I've been hit with wows in my life. Sometimes you get someone that even if you weren't related, if y'all had met, you would have linked up perfect, like understand each other. That real bond, right? And you have the benefit of actually being family, so you get even more time with this person. Like, I look at, tell you about Nikki. Nikki was a kid back down south, very big kid, but not like big, just tall. I say big, but I mean tall. He was too tall. He was too tall of a person. It was too much. It was like cartoonishly tall. He was that type of tall where everybody asked him if he played basketball. You know that? You know that type of, like, I mean, you're just so, do you just love playing basketball? As if it's a requirement to stay that tall. That you gotta start putting in hoop time if you're gonna stay this tall. It's such a funny question. I've never been asked if I play basketball for my height. It's just such a funny question because I can imagine what's going through the mind of a tall person when they're getting that question, because it's such a thirsty question from a short person. They're like, do you play? I mean, you must. Like, you have to. Like, you need this. I need this. I need you to play. Why can't just do it? I feel like that desperation is because you know that they could touch it. It's like, you could touch the rim so easy. You have to touch it for both of us. You have to play. I don't know what the rim feels like. Just please play. I need this. But Nikki was Nikki was tall, but he was as tall as he was clumsy. He was that type of person you would ask to grab something from the top shelf for you, and then as he's grabbing it, you know, he's got the hype, but he didn't have the grip. So he really just knocks something down off onto your head. You about to thank him too. You looking up. Thank you so much. And so him playing basketball was a disaster. He was very clumsy. And it was insane to watch. Like, I give him a little bit of grace because, like, when he would dribble, the ball did take too long to get back. Like, that's not all his fault. When I dribble, I'm right here. It's a frequent visitor, right? But when he would dribble, it'd just take forever to come back up, and by then he had already run away. Like, He could do that thing, though. He could do that thing where he could palm the ball. That was wild to watch. Just watch him grab the ball and hold it up like, look like a magic trick of being tall. And he was always getting like truly just like smoked on the court. Like even his handles were terrible. You know, he tried to put it through his leg. It would hit his elbow on the other side. Never knew how much pressure to apply to the dribble. So instead of being over here, one, he's over here watching it fly away. And there was one day, I don't know what got into him, but there was one day he was making a drive for that net. He wanted to get show off for somebody. And so he's running down the court, clearly traveling. There's no way he was ever gonna. And he's over here with, you know, got both hands on the ball, got the elbow out when people get close, you know, the weapons. And then this dude jumps for a dunk. He goes to dunk, and on top of being uncoordinated, on top of being a true waste of height, this young man has no strength in his ankles or calves. So when he jumps for the dunk and he flies forward, there's someone guarding him. And I think even that guy thought he was gonna fly over. Cause look, he didn't do a simple like jump up, you know, efficient dunk. He fully leg spread NBA logo. The problem is he's either pushed or made everybody else get out of the way up until this last person, this guy trying to finish just standing there, right? And because he got no air, because he jumped the height of his own shins, he simply flies into this man. He jumped into him. I've never seen a person jump into another person. Like he jumped into him like he thought he would go through and it, like he thought he would be him. He jumped. This guy's got his arms out and he jumped into him like it was the end of a war. Like they were finally reunited. This man, holding the ball in the air, just jumps forward, flies into this dude, and never in the history of street ball, I don't think anyone's ever seen anything happen like this. This man probably expected Nikki to fly over him, but when he just sort of kept coming forward at the height, basically the height he was already at, but with his legs spread. Never in the history of basketball on a public court has this happened. He flew in just trying to dunk, and then this man caught him. I need to show you then. He caught him. Caught him into his arms. Didn't fall backwards or anything, just straight up caught him because Nikki started jumping too far away, so he didn't have the momentum to knock somebody down. And then Nikki, this fool, still dunked. Still dunks, and then had the nerve to let go of the rim, putting all his weight back into this man's arms. Craziest weirdest part about it, he was still talking trash the whole time. He's still being held midair, talking crazy to everybody on the court. This man is up here. That's right, this is my house. Y'all get out the kitchen because I'm cooking right now. Can't nobody touch me. Sir, someone is touching you right now. So uncomfortable. And you know, Nikki was tall, he wasn't big or anything, but he was big enough to recognize that he was bigger than the people around him. And so he was somebody who truly fit that stereotype of like gentle giant, like didn't want to hurt anybody, didn't want to mess with anybody. In fact, his need to be gentle actually made him pretty easy to bully. Kids that were way smaller than him would give him a hard time, you know? And there was I'm sure, a bit of a fear taken up for himself because, you know, he didn't know what could happen. And so Nikki, very sweet, very easy to bully. You didn't have to worry about Nikki. You had to worry about his sister. His sister, first of all, his sister, not tall at all. Nikki got all the height in the family. But his sister would see somebody messing with Nikki, and she would come out of nowhere. Truly nowhere. There was this one time that this kid was pushing Nikki around, right? And then finally, Nikki had enough, and he pushed this other kid back, right? But then that kid, you know, when somebody's bigger than you, you figure they can take whatever. This kid runs back up, pushes him down as hard as he can. Nikki falls to the ground. We don't know where his sister came from. We don't know where she just came running. I need to be clear how, we didn't know where she came from because she didn't go to the same school. So when did you start running? Running. Then jumps in the air. We all give credit for that Sparta kick to the movie 300. But I had seen it years before. She got a running start, it jumped up in the air, and then foot first walked up this kid. Remember the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where they just sort of kick, and they never came down? Yeah. Oh. It is tough when you move out on your own for the first time and you're broke, but you're also young. Like, I had the benefit of being young and broke, so I didn't even realize how broke I was. I wasn't even aware it could not be like this. Because, you know, there's a different mindset. I can only speak for myself, but it seems like there was just a different mindset at the time for the sort of standards of my mom's house versus like what mine would be, because I was out on my own for the first time. So I was sort of setting them in real time, like setting these parameters. When you're out by yourself for the first time and you get your first place, this little studio apartment in Chicago, it's like anything. You could do anything, you know? You could put up both Fight Club posters. You could do whatever. You could get the main one and the variant right next to it. There's nobody to stop you. You know, I had an air mattress and everything. Just starting out, and so there are some things that I think other people would have clicked right away. We should do something about it. It just didn't happen for me. Not in my head right away. Like, for instance, when I would have somebody over and my fridge worked, but it didn't work hard. Like my fridge would do the fridge things, but just not all the things a fridge is supposed to do. I'd have somebody over, and then I'd offer them something to drink. I'd grab them something to drink, and I knew the cold spots of the fridge because the whole fridge wasn't cold, right? There were some, like the crisper was crispy. The crisper was perfect. Anything you really wanted to keep, you put in the crisper. But other stuff, you just had to be like, well, that's just a regular shelf. That's basically a cabinet shelf. And so I remember there was this one time that invited somebody over, poured them a drink, and then they asked for some ice, and I was like, okay. So my freezer doesn't make ice, like it doesn't. And what I meant was like my freezer didn't get cold. Like my freezer was actually hot. Like I don't know what coil was switched, but the top was hot. A regular fridge was fridge, but this over here was basically a microwave. And so I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't make ice in there. And and they were like, oh, okay, do you have an ice tray? Let's just pour some water. I don't mind waiting. And I was like, oh, you thought I meant I didn't have an ice maker. Okay, so what I'm saying is that like it won't exist in there. Like it's too hot. Like that's why I don't have anything but bread in there, because it's very warm. And they weren't being rude, but they just sort of said it, I guess, as they were thinking it. They were like, you can't afford ice? And when somebody points something out to you like that, it does remind you where you are when you can't afford just certain temperatures. That's a level of broke. That's a breakthrough of broke, to not be able to afford enough coal near you. And so when you're in a situation like that, just like when I was on my own and was sort of getting my bearings around being out in the world and what things I needed to fix first, because I still need a bed. I finally got a bed, and when I got that bed, okay, first of all, got the bed off Craigslist, so don't. The frame. I say whole bed as if it's a whole bed because, if you just got a mattress on the floor, that's a mattress on the floor. You can't call that a bed. So I got my bed frame off Craigslist, and then, bought a mattress and everything. That took some saving. For a little while, the air mattress was on the bed frame. Because if you didn't look too fast, it looked regular. But that bed frame, man, no wonder they were getting rid of it. Every time you sat down, you felt like you were hurting it. The entire time I had that bed frame, I'd be in my head thinking, like, why does my bed's back hurt so much? And every creak is just, it just sounds like you don't have your life together. You sit down after a long day of work and you hear, how am I gonna get any restful sleep with you complaining the entire night? I'd move my leg and the bed would do everything except scream. But when you're in a situation like that, and let's say you're even younger, let's say, You're like Nikki and his sister, especially in the neighborhood that they were in. There's a lot of things coming at you, maybe faster than you know how to process. You know, you're in a neighborhood where there's gangs, where there's gang violence, and obviously after the fact, people ask themselves, why would anybody join a gang? You know, why would anybody get involved? And it's a question that's more important to ask before anything happens. You know, after these decisions have been made, it's very easy to just be flippant about it. Why would anybody? Maybe this is somebody who's been beat up their entire life. The only time they don't get beat up is when they're with these people. For better or for worse, you know. Maybe these people aren't the best to have around, but at least I'm somewhat safe. There's a different type of danger hanging out with them. There's a present danger I know by being alone. You know? Maybe there's some sense of, this is the only way I'm going to be able to make some money. These guys already know a way. These guys always have money on them. You know, there's a false perception that maybe this is the way. You know, they put a gun in your hand. I'm sure you feel powerful. They tell you run the block. I'm sure you feel powerful. It's not until something actually stops you that you realize you're not all powerful. Like you look at a kid like Nikki, and you know, it's not like it is in the TV shows all the time, where there's just somebody seeking out, oh, that guy looks cool, I'll follow him around, maybe he'll let me join or something. Some people are coerced, some people are threatened. You know, you live here, you see us doing work, maybe it's time for you to do some work. They recruit them. That's the thing that people leave out. They recruit them. You know? And so maybe a kid like Nikki sees, though, this isn't it. I don't know what is, but this can't do this. So then a kid who almost never takes up for himself, a kid who's very gentle, although he's very tall, waste of tall, not using the tall right at all, but that's beside the point. A kid like Nikki gets approached, tells them, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I just live here. I'm not. And then it's his sister, of all people. It's his sister that also looks him in the face. Don't talk to my brother. You leave him alone. Right? Don't come near him. And when you're dealing with a gang, you're not dealing with a lot of reason behind decisions. But this kid who's known for being soft, telling you no like that to your face, and his sister backing him right up every time she sees you all around him, that won't do. You tell them no even after they start messing with you. And then it's someone like your sister that takes up for you. It's someone like your sister that tells them to their face, not as big as you, not as scary. You leave my brother alone. It takes a lot of bravery to do something like that. You leave my brother alone, knowing how dangerous they are. And then, maybe, one day, they decide to send some sort of message, right? They pass your house, and they shoot at your house. But you're not home. Your sister's home, though. And those bullets that may have even been meant for you, whether they were meant to send a message or they were meant for you, they don't hit you. You're not there. They hit your sister. They took your sister. Do you see how a gang works? They'll take everything that they can as long as you let them. They'll do whatever they like as long as they feel like nobody can stop them. You know? I'll back up real quick. Being out on your own and broke, you have to decide what professionals you're going to spend your money on, because all the professionals you can't afford. So sometimes you got to go to a professional who says they're professional and doesn't feel very professional. Like, for instance, I require some things from a professional. Like, some of it may have nothing to do with their capabilities at their job. They're just things that make me uncomfortable. Like, I don't like when my professionals in some fields take cash. That makes me nervous. If you go to the doctor and you get done and they don't ask you about insurance or anything, they're like, all right, it's gonna be $250, so you can do 10s and 5s. I could break 100 if you need change. Some things you just want to have taken care of ahead of time so you can just enjoy the experience of being in the presence of a professional. I don't want my pilot to take cash. What if I don't have cash on me? Even like the nonverbal sometimes. Sometimes a professional will let their feelings escape, right? They won't be very professional. Just let it out as it happens. That is very jarring. It's terrifying. I don't ever want that to happen. Imagine you in court. You're in court, and then prosecutor says something, and then your lawyer turns to you and goes, "What's wrong with you? Everybody heard that. You couldn't keep that in?" No, because you know what it is whenever people, they're supposed to be professional, emote like that, it lets you know that they also don't know what's supposed to happen. Now we're living in chaos. GIB, if the people who are supposed to know don't know, if the people who are supposed to act some sort of way don't know how to act that way, now we're in chaos. Like, now we're in chaos. Like, now we're in chaos. And I remember one of the earlier times I felt like this was with my dad. I was in the car with my dad, and we got a flat tire. And he went to the trunk, grabbed the spare, changed the tire, and then the car wouldn't start. I'm not saying at 7 years old I knew how to change a tire. I was just confused why, after changing this tire, the car as a whole gave up. The car that was running before, and then you changed the tire. Here's the thing, I'm not a mechanic, not an engineer, but I look at tires like shoes. And if somebody's shoe fell off or wore down to the point they needed another shoe, and then you gave them that shoe, and then they were like, "Oh, I don't walk anymore." I think you would be confused. I think it's fair that I was confused. I was like, all the wheels good. Maybe try it again. He's over here. Nothing. You know. So then he had to go into a store, find a phone, because this is, you know, I'm like a 90s baby. I didn't have a cell phone for a long time. My dad didn't have a cell phone for a while. He had to go into a store and ask to use their phone to make a very embarrassing phone call. Call whoever he called to be like, yeah, I changed the tire. And now my car doesn't want to be a car anymore. And I remember I asked him, like, what are we going to do, Dad? And in a moment of honesty, because to be fair, your parents are your parents. They're not professionals. They should be allowed to be human, you know? But I asked him, what are you going to do, Dad? And he was like, I don't know, son. And I know I was little, but even looking back, I had too strong of a reaction. I was like, you don't know! That was a little too much. But in my mind, in my like little bit of life experience, I was like, we are stranded here then. What do you mean you don't know? And then someone came and they gave my dad a jump. Now, this is the first one I had ever seen. And once again, me being a kid, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head, I was like, that's not gonna work. Y'all just doing stuff now, like this. Oh, we're gonna put the wire in the wire and and then it did work. And when it worked, to my credit, I was like, man, my dad's a genius. Who would even thought? You just wire up to another car and it'll be a car again. But yeah, that feels like where we are, where, do you know what I mean? Where there are people that are supposed to know, who even say that they know, but when they start telling you what they know, you realize they don't know anything. And that's very scary. That's terrifying. Sometimes I don't even know what press conference I'm watching and what it's about. I watched this. There was a press conference where there was a press conference where Marco Rubio wrote something down and slid it to Trump. And like, I don't know, man, I've never seen somebody so locked in to being evil and so checked out of life. Because this dude gets slid the note, and then there's no way Trump has an internal monologue. We must know every thought that comes through his head, because Marco Rubio went ahead and passed him the note, and then he says out loud, you know, okay, do you remember in English class when your teacher made you like read Shakespeare, but then somebody in the class had to also read the stage direction just so everybody would know where we were at? Things that should clearly be in his head get spoken out loud. This dude gets slid the note and then says out loud, Marco Rubio just passed me a note. you gotta watch the video from the specific angle I'm talking about because it exists. I saw it when it happened, but the other angle that's like centered on Trump doesn't do it justice. There's an angle that's like to the right of Trump, there's a camera. And you see when Trump says Marco Rubio just passed me a note, you see Marco Rubio go. And then Trump reads the note out loud for everyone. And that's, once again, maybe something he meant to do in his head and his mouth never stopped. Because then he's like, it says Chevron. Go back to Chevron. He read the note out loud. At a press conference, I'm assuming where they're talking about oil, and doesn't seem to know what this note means. Go back to go back to Chevron. All right. I'm surprised he didn't just keep talking. Like, go back to Chevron. Oh, I've never worked there. Interesting. Okay. Like he so clearly did everything that should have been in his head. I'm surprised this man didn't grab the note. Marco Rubio just passed me a note, bend arm. It says, go back to Chevron. What does that mean, turnhead? And look, I don't even know if this is the same press conference because this is a different clip. There was a point where I don't know if Trump was talking or somebody else was talking or if he was being asked a question, but he just got up from the table and looked out the door. This man over just, yeah, you know. Wow. That's gonna be the entrance to the ballroom. Sir, if you don't sit your Biden-built brain down, this is everything you said about Biden. Everything you doing right now. Every ounce of it was supposed to be what Joe Biden was like. This man tried to bully Joe Biden the entire campaign with the fact that the auto pen, the auto pen, the famous auto pen, he doesn't know what's going on. Somebody else is running the White House. It's like, all right, look, for all of his faults, Biden was never passed a note. He was never passed a note. It was like, Vice President Harris just passed me a note. Oh. No, it's insanity. No, it's so wild. Especially because we're how it all just feels especially insane that how this dementia is affecting all of us. Do you know what I mean? Like I've had people in my life that I love dearly have dementia, and it affected the family, not the country. Not, you know what I mean? Like if your great uncle starts grabbing the remote control for the TV and pressing buttons and putting it to his ear, that doesn't affect Greenland. You know? It's just, I don't know. Sometimes you just want to get the message out. Thank God the internet, for now at least, is like viewable by people from other countries that aren't near, because they can see us also be like, no, every day. Every day we wake up, and if you have a smartphone, you probably have your notifications on. Which is not, it's maybe wait. The stuff will be there eventually. You shouldn't wake up to the news. Give yourself a minute. Do you know what I mean? Because like you wake up and then you open your phone and there's all the headlines because the publications were working while you were sleeping, and they have a list ready to go of things to give you Marco Rubio face. There's a big flaw we have now in that the news by headline is like in your phone. It just hits your phone like that. You gotta turn your notifications off sometimes just for the sake of your mind, because you know I was checking the time. I just wanted to know the time, and now, Well, oh no, I was gonna travel. Looks like we're not friends with anybody anymore. It's devastating, you know? And then you see things like you see what happened in Minneapolis. Yeah. You see everything that happened, and it is, it's sad and fascinating that no matter how many angles come out, no matter what people are watching, no one's really changing their position. And I think one of the main reasons is that there are many people that are trying to argue the legality, and everyone else is trying to argue the morality, you know? We're not speaking the same language about these things, which is one of the main reasons we're not getting anywhere. And I think that, look, if your entire moral compass is based on what the laws are currently at the time, I think that's a very weak compass, because all of the good that has ever come to this country and to people in general was through change. It was through adjustment. It was through figuring out what met the moment the best, you know? There's no, to me at least, there's very little good in just saying, well, that is the way it is. No. It's like that's not enough. Every benefit to your life, every single benefit to your life came through some sort of change. The powers that be weren't just waking up one day and then thinking, oh, well, we probably should do a little better. Sadly, that's not how that sort of like arc of justice bends. Usually bends with pressure, you know? Trust me when I tell you that J.D. Rockefeller or, you know, Carnegie, any of these robber barons, they weren't laid up at night figuring out how to start a union. You know? All these things come with time. You know, you can make whatever legal argument you want to make. That is not what people are not arguing for some sort of like Section 3, Article 5 of some. They saw the video. You saw the video. And I personally think one of the reasons to argue the legality or to make the status quo your moral compass is because you're either not affected or you think that if you play ball, it won't come for you. It won't affect you, you know? And that's just not the case. Now we are where we are because they needed something. They passed this bill that is going to really devastate a lot of people. Yeah. You know what I mean? They passed it a while ago and they're hoping you don't remember. In fact, they're looking for something. They need something new. It can't be the old stuff because they said they fixed all the old stuff. Right? So they need something new. You know, they passed this bill that lets AI companies off the hook, that rolls back a bunch of environmental protections, that slashes your health care, and they need something new, which is why they landed on Somali daycare fraud. No, you know Somali daycare fraud, the most lucrative fraud of all time. It is the fraud that... It's honestly the fraud that the world turns on the axis of. It is the most prevalent fraud that has ever existed. If only Walter White had known about Somali daycare fraud. Would have been a very different show. No, they need something new because they're hoping that you'll forget that they can't actually, and they don't have plans to, and the things that it would take, they're not willing to do to improve your life. They're not going to do it, you know? They're all in the same pool, so they're not going to tax their friends, you know? So what can they do? Well, they can't improve your life. They can't do it, but they can make everybody else's life miserable. Like they could make everyone else's life worse, and then that's equality. Yeah. It's like when you're it's like when you're dating somebody that sucks, and then they are like, yeah, but other people suck too. You'll sit them down and tell them everything that you feel like they are doing wrong in the relationship, and they're like, everybody does that though. Like if it's not me, it's just gonna be somebody else forgetting your birthday. That's gonna happen. Because you see what happened, and you see how panicked they genuinely were. You know, they sent these guys out. I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but as a country, we are like broke. You know what I mean? We are like, because their bill also adds to the deficit. And we're very broke. And not the government, I should be clear. The people. The people. I know people think it's the same thing. But people from other countries, just so you know, it's not the same thing. The country, as in the government, is doing fine. They just found a bunch of oil. It's the people. It's the people who are struggling. It's the people whose groceries prices and whose healthcare costs are skyrocketing. It's the people who have less to show for the work that they do. And it's the people losing their jobs, getting their government jobs slashed and getting let go from companies and everything. And so they need something. We can't afford, in the bill, $29 billion for ICE. We cannot afford ICE any more than I could afford ICE. I can't believe $29 billion. I mean, but this is my thing, I guess, is that you watch something like what's happening in Minneapolis, because it's not just one instance, it's not just one thing, you know? Because the same day that Renee Good lost her life, a high school in Minneapolis was pretty much just attacked by ICE, like pepper spray. They pepper sprayed kids, you know? You look at what happened in Chicago. They pulled kids out. They pulled all these people out of this building. It was just a show of force. It doesn't look like there were really any convictions out of that. It was pure harassment, you know? People talk about comply. People talk about what is legal, but really think about what's moral, you know? I'll tell you right now, if you just sort of go with the flow, you go with the status quo, you just simply comply over and over again, you know, nothing really changes. Not a single thing. Because once again, the people who have everything don't really think about breaking you off a piece. That's just not how it works, you know? They weren't up at night figuring out, oh, you know, maybe a minimum wage would be good. You know? I'll tell you right now, if all you do is comply, if all you do is hope that things change or get better, but you go along with everything as it stands, it doesn't happen. If everyone that came before me had just complied, then I probably would have entered this theater, any theater, through a colored section. You know, every good thing you have in your life is a product of someone else's struggle. You know? You see everything that's happening. And it's not about what they say it's about. You know? People talk about coming over the right way, doing it the right way and everything. Meanwhile, the people that say that don't even actually know what the right way is. Not top to bottom. The people trying to do it know. But they don't even understand the significance of yanking people out of a hearing that's their immigration hearing that they showed up to do it the right way. You know, just jamming people up for the sake of doing it. Now, be clear here, it is not about Somali daycare fraud. Even the narrative building, even what happens next, then the president makes a statement. There's no way he saw the video. And I'm not even saying that because I think that there's some like moral core to. I'm saying that because what he said, he was like, this officer was run over. He's lucky to be alive. She ran right over him. I mean, he basically exploded. And he had the wherewithal to put himself back together again. Reconstitute his body. Amazing stuff. No, you see how they paint this person immediately. You know, they need their narrative more than anything, because if the narrative falls apart, then everything is exposed. And if it's all exposed, you start to blame who's worth blaming. It's never been more important to know all of your rights, to know all of them. And you know, it's never been more important to know the difference between a judicial warrant and an ICE warrant. Like, a judicial warrant is something signed by a judge, and the judge signs it, and it means they can come in. Because the judge wrote the thing, we need to go get you. And a lot of times when they have a judicial warrant, they don't even knock. They just sort of come in. It's not really up for discussion. An ICE warrant is a thing that ICE wrote that they may show you, and it may even be part of narratives that happen for the future where, well, they had a warrant. Which warrant? It's important to know, because ICE having a warrant is like me writing myself a sick note. You know what I mean? I've done it many times. I've had to write my own doctor's note many times. And every time I gotta write my own doctor's note, the story, I do too much. The story's like unbelievable. Like usually a doctor's note is like 2 sentences because doctors don't even want to do it, but sometimes employers or schools require it. But then I would be doing, oh man, I'd be doing too much. I'd be like, oh, what a brave boy. I can't believe he's making it through, you know? Don't just go easy on him. Applaud him for his courage. It's very important that you understand what's happening and what could happen next as a result of it. So often, our lawmakers and even some of us with the best of intentions address things as they happen. We don't cut them off ahead of time. Like I watch the things that happen with ICE, and they're not cops. They're these federal agents that are there to kidnap and disappear people. That is the point. It's the entire reason that Renee Good isn't with us. And it is more than fitting that these people, that this administration would be the enemy of good. Like, you're watching it happen. And there's a sort of like collective trauma around it. Because it's just happening over and over again. It happens every time that you watch it. And I don't know, it reminds me that it's important to choose as much family as you can. You choose to protect your family. Choose to protect people that when you were born you had no relation to, but you found each other. There's nothing more important. Because when they didn't see Nikki the first time, they went ahead, spin the block, let's go back around, shot through. They do the same thing to us. They do the same thing to us all the time. You know, several years removed, but not a mile away from where George Floyd died. And what happened then? We marched, we protested, we begged, worked as much as we could for some sort of change, and then several years later, they spin the block, right? They took, and they'll take as much as they can, take as much as you let them. And look, there are people, right? There are people who will never see your side of things. There are people who are not working for you. They work for whatever corporation funds them. They work for whatever lobbyist gives them the most money. But the people that you vote for, the people that you put in power, it is important now more than ever that you stay on their neck. You stay on them. Because when things like this happen and there's this sort of like rhetoric around, you see how people feel one way or the other, and you see politicians try to do their spin. Obviously, there's a way that we expect everybody to fall, but it's important to remember that usually ICE funding is bipartisan. So you only control the people that you vote for, but you got to stay on them. You never let up. Being a public official should be a headache. I genuinely, it depends on who it is, but I usually hate to see him smile. I'm like, why are you having a good day? Because you wonder, you see these videos of people just going about their life or trying to do the right thing, being violently met by ICE agents. There's always a narrative to fall back on later, even when the narrative is a lie, even when it gets disproven. There's always some sort of narrative to fall back on. And it makes you wonder, why would anybody even join up? Why would anybody join this thing? And then you see, it's like, okay, economically tough times, signing bonus, maybe I've been picked on my entire life and now I get a gun, maybe. They tell me that I run this area, I can go wherever I want, I can do whatever I want, finally have some power, and you see what they do with it. You watch what happened. And it's important to remember that you can choose family. You can choose the people that you stick your neck out for. You can choose the people that you protect that mean as much to you as your own life. You can choose people. And it's important to keep making those choices daily. The stronger you make those choices, the stronger the bond is, the less that they have. Because remember, it's not as if ICE is some sort of army or something. They actually have wildly low numbers. That's why they need the police to come back them up everywhere they go. That's why all it takes is being pelted with snowballs and they leave. It was snowballs. It was snowballs in Minnesota. Snowballs in Minnesota is basically the weather conditions. So that's And so when you watch what happens, it's important that we as people take it upon ourselves as best as we can. As much as we can sacrifice, because everybody can't take on the same amount of burden. I understand that, but as much as you can do, you do it and you make a better world. Yes. That's the way forward, This was not the first ICE-related shooting. This was not the first ICE-related death. And it's not just going to go away. I think about those kids that are left behind now and how it's important that they be chosen as family to take them in. Because you watch that video, you watch everything that happened. You can watch people litigate all they want, but once again, you're talking about people who are arguing for the legality versus people who are arguing the morality. They did what they did because they knew that they could. You know what I mean? And it's important that people left behind, like that child, those children, they become our responsibility. Because make no mistake, they took our sister. Do you see how a gang works? I realized this year, when Black Friday came and went, I realized that I finally have a thing. Like the things that my mom and her friends and anyone older than me had when I was growing up. I finally have a thing that I can look at a kid and say, you have it so easy. Back in my day, on Black Friday, you used to get your shit rocked. We would duke it out in the aisles, fighting like savages for a toaster that you couldn't afford the rest of the year. All you have to do is go click, 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 and then the deals come to you. Black Friday used to be an event. It was the closest that we've come as a country to the purge. You know what I mean? Because when you think about it, like, okay, you are a Best Buy. You are a Best Buy somewhere in America. You know that you got 100 people camped outside from the night before to get these TVs. You know 300 more people are coming to get these TVs. You know you only have 12 TVs. Why is there an inventory issue now? Do you know what I mean? This is the recipe for a riot. This is the exact equation. 100 plus 300 minus 12 is bricks. How did you not plan better? And then you'll know, remember the footage. We'd see the footage from Black Friday all over the country. People just wailing. People punching old people in the face. We were watching our society crumble. And like, there was never like a police presence. The first year caught us all off guard, all right? I don't even remember what year it was, maybe like 2006, whatever. First year that Black Friday came and it was like, everyone started fighting and everybody charging through to get in and stuff like that. It took everybody by surprise. I get it. The next year, you should have prepared. One day a year where we would just go absolutely batshit. You never saw anybody get arrested. They're on the news. Do you know what I mean? Like their faces on the news fighting, like fighting for the toy, right? And then like trying to hold on to a toy and they getting their licks in between gripping and readjusting their grip on the toy. I wonder if now that it's so easy, now that Black Friday is just this formality where you just, click, click, get the deals sent right to your house. I wonder if anyone who engaged in the violence is embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like, because think about it, because you couldn't have known what the future was going to bring. But if you had just been a little bit more patient and let the technology catch up to the demand, you wouldn't have had to rock so many nanas. You know what I mean? And just telling that story makes me sound old because there are young people right now who will never understand what any of that was like, So now I'm sitting here, I'm talking to my grandkids, and I'm like, your Nana got curb stomped for me to get a PS5 because she loved me, all right? It's absolutely insane. Black Friday used to be such an event. There was one year when I still lived in Louisiana that day after Thanksgiving, me and some friends just went to the Walmart to watch. Because we got there a little bit before they opened. There was already a line, a couple tents. I was like, this is going to be good, all right? And then more people started showing up. We had no intention of going in, right? Just more people showing up. And I had locked in on this one guy that was like doing stretches. But he was doing the most inefficient stretches I've ever seen in my life. Because he was trying to do the hamstring stuff, but he was just popping it. He wasn't like holding it. He was like, I was like, he gonna get hurt. That's the one's gonna go down first, right? And then sure enough, they open the door and he got stands going. He's ready to get in there. And they open the doors, everybody rushes in. I don't know what he tripped on. But this man went down immediately.
And then in the distance in the parking lot, all we could see is just every time somebody stepped on him, one shoe would go up. Like he was out here floating top to bottom. You could tell every time he got stepped on. I was like, I hope he's all right. It's been a while since I've been here. It's been a little over a year since I've been in Arlington. And in that time, I've been through some things. There's no good way to tell an establishment that you're in. And this is all over the country. There's no good way to tell them that the bathroom is out of toilet paper. It don't matter if you speak to the manager, just someone on shift. There's no good way to say y'all are out of toilet paper that make you seem clean, all right? Because you just trying to help. But when you walk up and say, y'all out of toilet paper, when you make a definitive statement like that, you're saying some things without saying them. And you're making people wonder something. You're making people ask questions about you as a person, because then that means that either you didn't wipe or you finished the toilet paper, which somehow still makes you seem nasty. Like, now we all know that toilet paper is not this like infinite resource that just goes on in perpetuity for the end of time. We know that eventually the roll will end, but if you the type of person that ends the roll, what are you doing with your life? That rolls end when you go to the bathroom. Because when you think about it from their perspective, everybody else went to the bathroom and everything was fine. But then when you went and you came out, all of a sudden we don't have any more toilet paper in the building. Sounds like a you problem, right? I'll be vulnerable for a second. I was at a Denny's. I was at Denny's with some friends, and I went to the bathroom. And you never want shit at a Denny's. That's never the plan. That's never something you're doing on purpose. You know what I mean? That's either an emergency or you trying to make room. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to go to the bathroom, right? I thought I could go ahead, I could power through, but in the end I was like, there's no way I'm hitting a grand slam with what I already got going on, so I don't want to waste food. Let me go ahead and go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and then I went to the bathroom, right? And I'm sitting there, and then I went to reach for and I didn't feel any. It was just air. It was like just air where there's supposed to be toilet paper, and it's such a natural motion that you're not even looking when you reach. Because you know toilet paper is supposed to be there. Like, reaching for toilet paper that's not there is like, you know, like when you pray and your prayer don't get answered? And you're like, well, what is all this for? You know what I mean? Why do we have civilization? And so then I reach and I don't feel anything. So then, and I'm not even thinking about it right away because I'm on my phone. So then I just reach a little higher. So I'm like reaching a little bit higher. I still don't feel anything. It's still nothing but air. And it's such an odd feeling when you go for something that you think is supposed to be there and then it's not. Like, you know, like when let's say you're on your phone or something, you're not really paying attention and you're walking up the steps and then you take that extra step, but then there's no extra step because you're at the top of the steps and then you go like... And you didn't trip. You did the opposite of trip. You're still upright, but you feel weird. You're like, oh, wow, all right, that was odd, okay. That's how it feels, because I'm sitting there and I'm reaching. And then finally I reach up and I feel raw roll. Like I feel the cardboard of the roll. So then, and I don't know why I did this, but like I even flipped it just in case something would fall. So I flipped it. I even heard the like, duh, 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 duh. Like it was truly nothing. This is a raw roll now. There's nothing on it. It's bone dry, right? And I don't even know why I did that, because it was instinctual though. I was like, there's got to be something here. Life isn't this unfair. You know what I mean? And so I did, and you know, like when you walk into a room and you go to flick the light switch on and the lights don't come on. Now you know that if the lights don't come on, that the bulb is blown, but you will still sometimes turn it off and turn it on one more time just to be like, maybe I didn't give the light a chance. You know what I mean? Like maybe, let me go ahead, flick it off, flick it on, because that was my fault. I ran in here too quick. The light didn't even know I was going in this room. Let me give the light a chance to act right, you know what I mean? And then flick it on, flick it off. And then when it doesn't come on the second time, you're like, oh, the bulb is blown. But sometimes you just do it to be like. So I'm sitting there and now I'm panicking. Because what am I gonna do? What do we do now? Because the last thing I'm gonna do is stand up, put my pants on, walk out there, and walk up to someone and say, y'all out of toilet paper. That would be insane. But I also can't live here. And so I'm sitting there panicking, truly panicking. I know I'm panicking because I'm sweating. And I know I'm sweating because it's all over me. And I know it's all over me because I don't have anything to wipe it with. I'm sitting there, what am I gonna do and everything? And then I see the door opens, right? And this Denny's had one of those like 2 bathroom, like stall, 2 urinal, 2 sink setups, right? And so somebody walks in, and when they walk in, I'm looking under the stall door a little bit. I see black shoes, and I'm like, okay, that's some hope. And then I look through the crack, and they're washing their hands, and I see a red shirt. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a uniform. That's an employee. I'm saved. But now I got to get his attention in the least upsetting way possible. Because you don't want to just be a disembodied voice in the bathroom going, y'all out of toilet paper. So then I'm in my mind at the time, in the moment, the only thing I could think to say was, help. Which as soon as I said it, I was like, that's not. Because now he don't know what type of help. Like, am I stuck? Is like, does he need an ambulance? Is this doctor help? And so I said, help. And he said, what? And I said, y'all out of toilet paper. And he was like, oh, okay, all right. Well, give me a second. I'll get you. Finishes washing his hands, walks out of the bathroom, and maybe forgot me. He never came back. That man never came back, right? So now I'm sitting in here, and I'm devastated, right? Because every second that goes by, I'm like, he gonna be back here any minute. Yeah. So I'm not even worried for the first whatever minute. And I know you're thinking to yourself, Josh, why is this story so long? Why didn't you just text one of your friends at the table to tell them to tell someone, hey, y'all out of toilet paper? I forgot to mention earlier, my phone been dead, all right? My phone died when I was doing this. And so then I'm sitting there waiting. I don't even know how long. And then another person comes in, right? Once again, I see black shoes. Oh, look through the crack, red uniform. Oh, Doesn't even seem like person before. They're washing their hands, right? Doesn't even seem like person before. And I didn't yell help this time. I had learned my lesson. So I was just like, excuse me, I know this is weird. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But y'all are out of toilet paper and I've been in here quite a while. Because I didn't want to seem indignant. This is not this person's fault. But still, I've been in here for a long time now. Like, this person didn't come back for help or anything. This is very upsetting. Y'all got that A rating outside. I can turn to a C real quick, okay? I just want to let him know I'm in dire straits out here. And, you know, he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then he went, you know, and left and then immediately came back. And this is how I can tell you he was a hero, right? Because on the other side of the stall, I can hear him picking at the roll, trying to get, you know, because you know, like when you start a new roll, how those first sheets glued. They like, it's insane. Why do you have to waste 9 sheets just to get the roll started? We've been to the moon and we still have to rip up and throw away a bunch of sheets just get the first sheet that's usable, right? But then he ripping it up for me. I was like, this man's a saint, you know what I mean? And then we didn't know how he was gonna get it to me because he can't just like lob it to me like that, because this is heavy. This is industrial sized toilet paper. He will knock me out if this lands on my head. And so my man, I don't know. It was weird between us just because we're dudes. Like if this was a woman in this situation, all she would have to do is be like, girl, they're out of toilet paper. Be like, girl, I got you. And then, you know what I mean? But as men, we don't have a relationship like that. Like if there's any chance you about to see dick, y'all better been to war together. I'm not just seeing random penis. Even if you are my friend, we not that close. Like, no. Right? I'm not doing anything where I have a chance of seeing your... No, I don't want anything. So then, my man, like the hero he was, he bowled it to me. Under the stall, I could see the trail coming, and it was hope. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then I grabbed it, and I picked it. I was like, bro, thank you so much. I'm so thankful. He's like, no, you good, dog. I was like, no, you don't understand. I was in here forever, right? Like, I was out here trying, dog. Like, thank you so much for saving me. You saved me, right? And he's like, no, it's really okay. I was like, no, I just want you to understand how appreciative I am. And he was like, bro, are you still are you wiping? Like, are you still talking to me? And I was like, I'm sorry, man. I just really been here a long time. And it's like, I don't even know how long because my phone died and everything. I don't even think he heard that part because when I opened the door, he wasn't there. But yeah, I've been through a lot.
It is very important. It's very important that you take care of yourself, especially now. You know, people try to make you feel bad for engaging in self-care, just looking out for your own well-being, your sanity. You know, it's important to take care of yourself. Especially, like, I tried to take care of myself off and on, and it rarely goes well. You know, like I was going through a bit of a, I wouldn't call it an episode, but I was just really down. You know, it was real depressed and everything. And my friend suggested, because this is at a time in my life where I was not going to be able to afford therapy. You know, therapy was just going to be whoever was listening right now. And so my friend suggested, he was like, hey, I've been reading a lot about this. If you're around a pet, like maybe you don't have the means to take care of a pet right now, but if you're able to be around a friend's pet or something, it boosts your mood, like releases endorphins and everything. You should try that. Come over to my place. I have a cat. And I was like, well, this is better than nothing, so I'll give it a try. And I went over. I had never met his cat before. But this cat, he always talked about how sweet it was and how it was like a dog and everything. Yeah, somehow, yeah. And so I get over there and he's like, yeah, just, you know, hang out with us. We'll watch a movie, let him sit on your lap and everything. And, you know, I guarantee you'll start to feel better. And I was like, all right. You know, and I appreciate him even trying to help me. And so I was sitting there, and sure enough, the cat jumped up on the couch, And he was he was telling me everything the cat was doing while it was doing it and why it does it. It was just the worst version of David Attenborough I've ever seen in my life. Because the cat, first of all, the cat hopped up and then he was like, he's trying to meet you. See, he wants to get to know you, like get your sense, suss you out, feel your vibe and everything. And I was like, yeah, I gathered that. I didn't think he jumped on the couch like, what? Cat jumped on the couch and starts walking around. The couch walks like top of the couch behind my head and everything. And I know I was depressed, but this was making me very anxious because the way the cat was stalking around me just felt like it was about to strike. You said this was a lap cat. You didn't say anything about like looking over my shoulder, reading my text messages. Sure enough, the cat hopped down between the two of us, and then he got on my lap, and he did do a little like, started like kneading on my thighs and everything, got in a little circle, and laid right down on my lap. It was very sweet. And we started watching the movie and everything. And then I was asking, because I've been through this before. No, I've been in this situation where people are like, no, my cat's great. You would love my cat. My cat loves when you pet him and everything. And then I come over and I pet the cat. And then 3 pets in. Like, first one, we're fine. Second one, we're good. Third one, I don't know what I did. But you would think that the third time I rubbed the cat, I said something about its mother because the way that it pops up offended. And then people always blame me. They're like, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, I'm doing it the way I did it the first 2 times. There's no way that cats have a 3-strike rule. There's no way it didn't like it the first 2 times, but leaned into it, but then hated me the third time. And so I was like, hey, how does he like the rubs? Is there something that he like it specific to him, or just is anything fine? And he's like, oh, he likes when you start at the top of the head, you know, like scratch behind the ears and then rub all the way down. I was like, okay, sure, that's fine, easy instructions. I think I can do this. I should be good. And so, sure enough, scratch top of the head, scratch behind the ears, then rub his back. And it was nice. It was like a little rhythm to it and everything. And I guess he liked it enough that he started to purr. But this cat had this cat had the most bass in his voice I've ever heard in a cat. This is very upsetting. Because the cat didn't, like, I was expecting a little like, you know what I mean? Like just something subtle. This cat, like he didn't move, but he almost moved. Like it was so deep. He almost didn't get to the owl at the end. This cat, I'm rubbing it. And I'm not gonna lie, the second time I heard it, my hand stopped right where it was. I was like, nah, I feel like you making me uncomfortable right now. Because I was over here, okay, so I would scratch the head, and the cat started like really, like almost like standing up a little bit in my lap just to lean into the scratch more, so I was seeing his face, and I didn't like the face the cat was making. It's always satisfying when you're like scratching a dog and the dog gets like so into it that the foot get like uncontrollable. You're like, I'm getting up. It's always like cute because he's like, ah, you know, he like short circuits. This cat was like. And I could see his face, so I was like, should I keep going? Like, I feel like I'm hurting him. It's like, no, he loves it. He loves it. It's like, maybe he loves it too much. This is upsetting. It's like, dog, I think you got a pet demon. There's no way that this is a cat. And so it helped, but it didn't help. You know what I mean? Like, I came there depressed and I left confused about myself, about that cat. Because in my head, I'm like, what? Why would it make that face? You know, you go through this spell where you're like, what is it? And you also don't know where it comes from, because I'm sure some of it was like where I was in my life in the moment. Some of it was like, you start doing something, like even in the pursuit of comedy, you start doing something with the hope that one day you can do it well enough that more people can enjoy what you do than just you. You know, that's like the hope for every creative endeavor. It's like, obviously, whether you paint, whether you act, whether you do music, whatever it is, it's like you make this thing because you would like it to exist in the world. And then you hope that other people enjoy it. And along the way, especially when you're starting out, especially when you just don't have that, like, that thing yet where you can close the gaps and put it together to bring something that's real to people, and you're in the pursuit of that, you can lose confidence sometimes that, like, maybe I'll never put it together the way that I would like to. And maybe that's a little bit of where I was at. But a lot of it was being broke. A lot of it was also being broke. It's like, yes, I want to do my art and do it better, but man, that's a lot of grilled cheese for dinner. That is a ridiculous amount of grilled cheese for dinner. And so I even, you know, thinking about it, self-care, how do I take care of my physical health, my mental health? I was like, I'll meditate. I'll start meditating. That'll be good for me. Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts in my head. It always feels like there's a bunch of noise in here. I'll meditate. I'll clear the noise, right? And so I thought to myself, okay, how do you meditate? I went to YouTube. I watched a dude meditate, and I was like, he really just had the camera on him and didn't say anything for 10 minutes. He like low-key took it too literal, and he just meditated. Like, his thing, the video said how to meditate, and then it's just on. I thought it was a picture for a minute, because he was being real still, and he was just, and there was a part of me that was like, did he fall asleep? Like, and so I was like, okay, I'll meditate. So then I bought a book on meditation. I was reading the book about meditation, and then through the book I was like, okay, these are the things to do. And especially when you have a thought, you know, we're so busy, we're so deeply, we're so deep in it, we don't even realize the way that we've made our mind busy feels normal. And it's not until you go on vacation that you realize, like, oh, I don't, like, when I live like that some of that noise is just extra. You do have to do things all day, and you do have a world and a life keeping you busy, but some of the noise is like manufactured from the phone or from the several screens, whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to meditate. And one of the main things they talk about in meditation is that you cannot beat yourself up when you get distracted from meditation and your mind starts to wander. You just notice your mind wandering, bring yourself back to the point of not wandering, and then hold on to that moment for as long as you can, right? And then you'll start to think about stuff, but just come back. You'll be fine. And eventually you'll get so good at not wandering that you'll really have like a calm mind. And it won't be every day, it won't be all the time. But when you put your intention to it, you'll have a calm mind. So I sat down. I'm going to meditate. Okay. I tried to like crisscross applesauce my legs. And I was realizing, I was like, my right going to fall asleep. I don't know why I'm not as flexible as I should be. And so I was just sitting, put my feet together and everything. And I was like, okay. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just think about your breath. Hold on to the ideas of your breath. Just think about how you're breathing. That's how you stay present. Every breath is important. Being present is important. Don't think about anything else. Don't think about how we left the gold standard, and so now there's really nothing but fear and anxiety backing up the dollar and the sort of like weighted debt system that we live in, because it really is the only thing holding us together, is like the expectation that it can't possibly fall apart, because if it ever fell apart, it would fall apart for everyone. It's basically like our economy, our government is holding a gun to the heads of us and every other nation at the same time. And if we at all stop this thing, if we ever stop this machine from running, maybe we could like release ourselves from the idea of this like economic, like, if we're being honest, like an economic enslavement to the dollar and to the ideas behind the dollar, and we could end up in a better world, a world where like maybe you could actually work with some sort of meritocracy for both your efforts and for your work. And if we got there, if we were able to do that, I wandered and okay, all right, and so I went ahead and I stopped meditating. I stopped meditating. Maybe I'll start again one day, but I stopped meditating because it was bad for my mental health. At least the way I was doing it, because I was doing it wrong. It was basically just me crashing out with my eyes closed in a quiet room with a drippy faucet. Yeah. So then I was like, you know what I'll do? Maybe I tried to take care of myself, mental, inside, everything. But maybe I just need to go get a massage. That's what I need to do. But when you're young and things are cheap, you know what I mean? Like if something's like $8, you're like, oh, that must be a good deal if it's $8. I went to this place because they were doing a promotion. They basically wanted you to become a member, and the membership was like whatever, like $40 a month. But if you signed up, you could basically sign up after the first massage. And so the first massage, to get you to do it for sure, but still have something to pay the masseuse, the first massage is like $8. Right? So it's $8. $40 subscription. You could come in like twice a week or whatever, but like $8. I was like, $8? Okay. I'm sure I got a bunch of knots and everything. My back always hurts. Let's go ahead and get this massage. And when I tell you that this massage was worth $2. It was worth exactly 8 quarters, all right? This is one of the worst beatdowns I ever had in my life. I've literally squared up and lost before, and I didn't get beat up the way I got beat up in here. Because, okay, they clearly gave me the person who was like, you know, training or something. Because it's a room where you can hear, it's like 3 different people are all broken off in these like little stalls, but you can hear what's happening around you. And so I can hear the dude, anytime he speaks, I hear it, right? Because I also don't really understand the tiling and everything. I don't know what this place was. This is like clearly like a Mexican restaurant before it was. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm almost positive they kept the tables and I'm on one of those tables. Because the table was not comfortable at all. The table was built like a sturdy table built to hold a platter of food. And so I'm laying at the table, and I knew these weren't tables made for like a masseuse, because you know how when you lay in a massage table and there's that place for your face and everything? Okay, they didn't have that at all. They didn't have that at all. They had cut a hole in the table. They had cut a hole in the table, but they had just put these like kind of like plushy napkins around the hole in the table, so I could still feel how sharp, because they cut the table with carpentry. Like this wasn't smooth at all. And so it was a clean cut, but it was sharp. And so I'm laying there, you know, face pushed against these pillows, pushed against this like circle of wood. And you know how when they're training at a barbershop, the haircuts will be like $2 because like they don't know what's gonna happen either, right? I had my head down so I can only tell y'all what I felt. But once again, you have like my ears aren't covered or anything. And so there's music playing in the background, but I can hear his footsteps. And I don't know what goes into the massage because I didn't ask any questions because I didn't. So I don't know if this is going to be one of those like Swedish or like hot stone or like whatever rub down thing. I just know that I paid $8. I'm getting like massage. And so I'm laying there, and then I'm not even kidding. I'm laying there, and this dude is walking around me for too long. This dude walking around stalking me, all right? Stalking me like prey. And then this was not a relaxing experience because the way he started the massage, like sometimes they start and they like, you know, like feel for certain points, like what, you know, what's tense, stuff like that. Or they touch you, you know, shoulders, back of the neck, something like that. This dude started. And in my head, I'm like, oh, so it's a fight. Like, that's crazy. The fact that the way you start is just to hit me in my back. Dude stalking around, hit me, kept walking. And I couldn't tell if he was walking because he was just walking in circles or if he had lost something. And so then, you know, he starts in. And he's doing like the palm of his hand, working it around and everything. Like really putting it together. The man they gave me for the massage was a big man in every sense of the word. He was wide, he was tall, he was big and strong. He was too big to be on me like this, like full weight and everything, just pushing on me hard and everything. Don't put me through the table. This is terrible. And so then, and got no rhythm to what he's doing. So then I'm trying to figure out when I can breathe because the way he's pushing me down, it's making my breathing sound bad. So then I'm just laying there, and then every once in a while I'm like, oh, and this is violence. This isn't a massage. He punching me slow. I've said something I should have said with my full chest and then had to start fighting. I've never been through this before. This man over here. And I guess I've gone like enough times because I'm trying to hold it together because there's other people in this Mexican restaurant massage parlor. They full of tables because it's $8 massages. So I'm trying to stay tough because everybody can hear me. Last thing I need is finish my massage the same time somebody finishes their massage and they're like, oh, that's him. Like that would be terrible. They got us in stalls and everything, but still. And I don't want to say anything because nobody else is saying anything. Like the place is full. There's other people in here. And clearly they have like a $10 massage because I don't hear any problems out of anybody else. But I was over here. Then finally, this dude, this is how I knew he wasn't professional. This man leans in, as you know, checking on me and everything, because they do this sometimes. And, you know, they're supposed to whisper because it's supposed to be a serene environment and everything. And instead of asking me, like, is that too much pressure, or would you like a bit lighter, or are there any places you'd like me to focus on, this dude just leaned down next to me And what was offensive too is that because I can see through the hole. You can always see through the hole, right? I don't have some sleep mask on. I can see through the hole in the ground, and I see his knee, so I can tell he's doing this. Like he's posted up next to me, and he leans next to me, and he doesn't check on me in a professional way at all. Just leans next to my ear and goes, "You good?" You good? And so I was like, I'm still not trying to back down. He goes, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great." That was a lie. I was dying. I was absolutely dying. And then he goes, "Okay." And I think that in his head, that was like, oh, I always hold back for clients. I can finally let loose. And so now this man looked like he from The Blind Side, and then he moved on to my lower back, and he was using his elbow now. Man, just working elbow. I feel what has to be my kidney moving. I feel like my kidney went to the other kidney and was like, "I'm gonna chill with you because things are terrible over there right now. There's no way I'm staying over there." So I felt something move, and I was like, "Whoa!" And because this one was so like involuntary. I was like, "Whoa!" And then he. This time he doesn't even lean down. He leans over. He's still above me. And he's like, "You all right?" And I said, "Is that all you got?" And what happened next is completely unacceptable because I don't know. I tried to like extend some sort of grace in my mind of what happened next because once again, this is like a starting company doing like a terrible type of Groupon promotion. I don't know. There's no way they're going to stay in business with this type of model. This is insane, right? And because once again, they have the oils and stuff like that. I know he was supposed to be using the oil because eventually I'm like, we both can't be dry, sir. Like this, like. This man is massaging me with hands that need chapstick. This is crazy. My back getting torn up right now. My back is on fire, old chapped hands. And so then I was like, "Hey, do you have any?" Do you have any oil? Because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like my back's kind of burning, and do you have any oil? And this dude goes, I was more offended by this than anything. This man goes, "I guess." And I was like, no, don't act like I'm doing something to you. This is part of it. It has the oil's here, which means it's part of it. Don't act like I'm some pervert, all right? This dude goes to get the oil, and to this day, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but I think it was because I heard a slight pop above me before it happened, right? But this dude, one of two things happens. Either he really didn't like me, so he just decided to do it, or he slipped on the oil. But this dude straight up gave me a people's elbow. Like this. I'm laying there, he goes to get the oil, he comes back, and all I hear. And I knew he was on the ground because I saw his foot through the hole. This man fell and almost knocked himself out. I finally lift my head up out of the table, and I look over my shoulder, and he's getting up, wide-eyed.
This man's eyes were so wide. It felt like he gave himself amnesia. Like he was just like, why am I in a massage parlor? I'm a linebacker for the Ravens. There's no reason for me to be here right now. This is crazy. And so then, this dude stands back up. He's clearly shaking. Because by the time he does my legs, he's like barely touching them. He's just like, and he did this thing. This is the other thing. I knew this dude wasn't professional because I'm positive he ran out of stuff. He ran out of ideas because you could hear him whispering to somebody else where he's like, I knew he didn't know what to do with my leg because by the time he got down the leg to the foot, he was holding the back of my foot, right? And he just wiggled my leg. I was like, nah, dog, you don't know what you're doing right now. Sir, don't wiggle me. Don't you dare. I'm a grown man, you're not gonna wiggle me. That's crazy. You try to do some self-care as a man and then out here getting wiggled. That's crazy. Oh, I was furious. I was so mad. The only thing that calmed me down, right after I got wiggled, I got so mad. And the only thing that calmed me down was the fact that this place, this massage parlor / former Mexican restaurant, this place didn't pay for premium on the Spotify. So then I hear an ad for Casper mattresses in the middle of a cool running brook. I was like, you know how down bad you have to be to have like 8 customers in here and still be like, we can't swing premium yet. It's crazy. There are like 8-hour-long uninterrupted videos of cool running brooks on YouTube, and you still, whatever. And so then he lifts my leg by my foot, and has it like bent over like this, stretches me like that on the table, and then gets to the toes, which I didn't need him to do. But this must be his specialty because it happened so fast. I didn't even get to say anything. I was about to be like, hey, you can leave the toes alone because I'm also ticklish. And so the last thing I need after the hooves is to be like, I would die. I would die if everybody in here heard me and then hear me. But before I can say anything, this dude got my leg bent over, and then he starts like to, do something to my toe. And in my head, I'm like, he too strong. He gonna snap my toe right off. And to this day, I've never felt this sensation again. This dude, sometimes a masseuse will do something to each toe and everything, then move on to the other foot, do something to each toe. This dude went and popped all my toes. It was the only thing in the massage where I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Wow. No, this is really good. Like that's crazy. I feel like I could touch the rim now or something. Dude lifted my other foot. All my toes popped again perfectly. I was like, he really does this as a technique. This was worth the $8,
You know, sometimes you have that thing where you're like, oh, I had a little cramp, stomp it out or something. Popped all my toes. And then... and then, you know, after he did, you know, my back, my legs, my feet, he came over to the side again. So he's like on the other side of the table. And I should have left, right? But he's like, I'm gonna turn around, flip over, dog. And I was like, that. Come on now. You couldn't hit me with a sir, I'm a paying customer. Flip over, dog. No decorum at all. But here's the thing. The back, I thought he had ruined me, right? And then the legs, I was like, he doesn't know what he's doing. But the foot, I was like, that worked. Maybe he knows something else. Like, maybe I'm just picturing. So then I go ahead, I flip over, and then I'm laying there, and then he, you know, is doing my arms and everything. And he's like massaging my arm. And it felt like he was like learning in real time. I was like, this is not that bad, you know? Like, even with the shoulder, he was like doing a little bit of stretching and then like stretching over and then like massaging while he was stretching everything. I was like, maybe he's just a front masseuse. Maybe he just shouldn't do backs. Like, this is really good. Had my arm over and was like, you know, doing a bunch of stuff. To the point where I was trying, you know, relax at everything. Even had my head in the table hole. I was really trying to zone out. This is like the massage is ending, you know, it's half back, half front and everything. But he was doing such a good job on the front and he seemed to be so well versed at it. I was like, I wonder if the book, he just read the first half and the first half is front or something. Or he like dropped out of masseuse school, but he was real good at front and they were like, you gotta learn to do backs. And he was like, let me do my thing, right? But, you know, flip over and everything, and he's doing so good on the arms and stuff. And just when I had faith in him, he grabbed my hand and just wiggled my whole arm. And I was like, right before the wiggle, though, right before it happened, it was such a stark difference between massages that I was like, maybe this is a different guy. Because I've been having my eyes closed as I flipped over. And so I opened my eyes, which is a huge mistake. Because then for the rest of the massage, neither one of us knew when to break eye contact. Like, I'm just laying there, eyes open, while he's over here. And then he walks over, and he's like massaging, you know, like a little bit behind the ear and everything. But like, I don't know why I did it, but like my eyes followed him. So now we're just looking at each other. And in my head, I'm like, blink, blink, blink. Break eye contact, please. He comes over to the other side, does the other arm, and I could tell that I made him uncomfortable. Because after he wiggled the second arm, he just let go. He was like, that's it. And so I walked out to reception, right? I was out there with reception and came out and they were like, how was your massage? And I was like, yeah, it happened. Definitely happened. They were like, are you good with everything? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Just, you know, like to pay real quick. And then they were like, do you think you'll be getting the membership? And I was like, I'm good. I'm all right. And they're like, okay. All right, you know, it's a good offer. And you come in twice a week, $40. The add-ons are half price. You sure? I was like, I'm positive. I'm good. And they're like, okay, well, that'll be $8. Would you like to leave a tip? Hey, here's my thing. If I'm being honest, in my heart, I wasn't sure I wanted to tip. But I also knew that with both of us living in Chicago, at any time this man could come and find me and massage me.